US, Sileshi Bekele, joins me now live from Washington, D.C. Ambassador, really good to see you. Thank you so much for taking the time. And as we just mentioned, there was major hope during the ceasefire. There would be a negotiation, a peaceful resolution to the fighting. Could you take us through what kind of talks were being held over this time and what went wrong?
Thank you very much, Lenny, for giving me the opportunity. In the run-up to August 24th, you remember in March 24, Ethiopian government declared a humanitarian truce-based humanitarian access, stopped the fight, and then this was maintained until August 24th, when Tplf once again started to reignite the conflict. This is
so you're saying the TPLF reignited the conflict. You're saying that the TPLF reignited the conflict. So it wasn't a breakdown in talks. It wasn't a breakdown in talks. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it's not a breakdown in talks. It is basically the attack that was launched from TPLF. You can see, the level of invasion that was covering almost the entire northern Amhara region and that of Afar region in two directions first, then expanded to the 5 different directions. So in the run-up to August 24th, basically Ethiopia was working on the peace talk, established the peace committee led by Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister, and many high officials prepared roadmap actually to sit together and make the peace talk happen.
So during, and you must also understand that the TPLF is pointing fingers and saying that they are not the ones that reignited this conflict. And we know that this is a delicate moment, so, there's going to be finger pointing. But I'm curious, over this time, during the ceasefire, why didn't the Ethiopian government restore critical services? And for people to understand, we're talking about banking, we're talking about telecoms, we're talking about consistent access to electricity, where the reporting that we're hearing is that Tigray was difficult to enter and get out of and almost impossible to send money to. I know aid agencies were able to send food, but I want to talk about critical services and why you didn't restore those.
Look, this is in a warring region. There is no peace established in the Tigray region. Basically, the government was trying to work out actually a different way of restoring service until the peace gets established and permanent ceasefire established. And among those, you can see fuel was being supplied. Money was transferred through third parties. There were also other talks how to reestablish the other services like the electricity, telecom, and so on through third party. There was agreement with World Bank resourcing so that this could come into effect. For example, UNOPS can support those kind of reestablishing the state services. Yeah. Imagine how could you establish services when the other party is occupying and preventing the movement of normal civilians from Ethiopian side.
I want you to take a listen to what the WHO director has said about the crisis and the severity of what people are going through in Tigray. I want you to take a listen, Ambassador.
I can tell you that the humanitarian crisis in Tigray is more than Ukraine, without any exaggeration. Nowhere on earth 6 million people are sealed off. Nowhere. From basic services, from their own money, from telecom, from food, from medicine. This is the worst disaster on earth as we speak.
And this is an important statement coming through from Tedros. He also said that he can't send money to his family, and that he doesn't know whether his friends and family are alive or dead because he can't establish communications. Is that in your mind something that is top of your concerns for the Ethiopian government?
Ethiopian government is equally, concerned for the people of Tigray as a legitimate and democratically elected government. The voice you were playing back to me is actually the former executive of the Tplf, not trying to work towards establishing peace, rather aggravate the conflict and simply siding.
But he's the director of the WHO, sharing his personal thoughts and experiences.
This current conflict is not impartial. He is only talking one side. During the previous wave of attack of humanitarian wave in Amhara and the Tigray region, in Amhara and Afar region, he hasn't spoken a single sentence. When 2,000 schools, 40 hospitals, 453 health stations, 1,850 health posts were dismantled as WHO Director General. That shouldn't be impartial. He was always talking, using the media, the available instrument at his disposal for
because people can't get access, right? So millions of people can't get access, they can't make phone calls, they can't get money. So that's why it's an important story, right? And that's why we're asking the question, will you be willing to restore services to the Tigray region? Because I want to go through the conditions that the TPLF has labeled out. Let's quickly go through them. I'm going to put them on the screen so that our viewers can see. It's essential services, unfettered humanitarian access, ending to war crimes. We can read them on screen, and end to war crimes, as we said, accountability for crimes and genocide, and restoration of boundaries. Is the Ethiopian government willing to look at these and agree with these conditions, or is there something in this list that you cannot deliver on?
Look, Ethiopia is open for unconditional, no condition, to sit down and peace talk, and then even address the most challenging issue immediately. For example, if service is the most priority, it is ready to prepare that and work out that. But please understand that the services, those which are possible without involvement of human being, have been given. For example, fuel. The fuel was, transported to Mekelle through the World Food Program, USAID, and so on, and it was deposited there. 570,000 liters were looted and used now for, advancing the war into Amhara and the Afar region. This is not necessary for. I know that we've heard that there was alleged fuel, taken by the TPLF. But I want to talk about those other critical services. You say you've got no preconditions, right? So, and again, we go back to what are these negotiations, how the talks going? You've got nothing that you want to put on the table. So then why would the negotiations break down in your mind? What do you think the biggest sticking point is, so that we can go through these themes to figure out what the lasting and peaceful solution is? Negotiation didn't take off. The hindrance, this is simply a tactic, taking this humanitarian service, which is a sensitive issue, as a precondition, while you need technicians to get into the region, repair the damage, and so on. In the first 8 months when the National Defense Force was there and protecting the workers, these were restored, investing billions of birr, or about $2 billion. This was made possible. How do you protect these technicians? We lost few of them during the previous period.
Ambassador, a hospital was hit in Tigray last week. Could you give us details on this and what your response is to this? Because the TPLF says it was the Ethiopian government.
What I know is it's not true. It is a propaganda. Hospital was not hit. But what happened is actually.
So who do you think did it?
Let me tell you the real story. The human wave. The human wave invaded Amhara and Tigray and Afar region not in hundreds or thousands, tens of thousands were flooding and dismantling all the possession of people in Amhara region especially. Villages were burned down.
I'm asking about the airstrike on a hospital. I'm asking about the airstrike on a hospital. Could you tell us whether the Ethiopian government was involved in that airstrike?
I don't know where you get this information on airstrike, but I haven't got this information that the airstrike went into hospital, hitting hospitals.
The hospital actually, the hospital tweeted about this and said, sorry, sir, Ambassador, just to give you context, I apologize for interjecting. We were showing visuals about this. So the hospital actually tweeted there was an airstrike and it was struck down, and we're showing visuals of the destroyed building, and we can see the images here, and that was in Mekele. I want to quickly move on because we've got so much to talk about. Is Eritrea involved in fighting in the north?
Not at all. We don't have information on that. We hear on social media, etc. Tplf has got this behavior of attracting, Eritrea to enter into the conflict by sending, some.
Do you want Eritrea involved in this fight? Do you, do you condone Eritrean forces involved? And if they are, and not to your knowledge, but say they are, what will the Ethiopian government do? What is your then stance on Eritrea getting involved?
Between Eritrea and the rest of Ethiopia, except the Tigray region, there is Tigray region itself. Ethiopia has no access to look at those issues you are alleging, but the truth is, inform Tplf not to provoke Eritrea. Missiles were thrown into them in the previous cycles. Now in this third cycle again, if they have started, I don't know.
Ambassador, I want to ask you, you're the ambassador to the United States and having conversations with the US as well. This has had a big economic toll on Ethiopia. From what we understand, you've lost some donor funding as well. What is the relationship with the US right now? You've had conversations as well with the Assistant US Secretary of State. Could you take us through what the messaging is in terms of creating a lasting peaceful solution to this?
In terms of lasting peaceful solution, instead of appeasing this or that, tell exactly what is happening in this third round of attack. Condemn Tplf so that they come back and sit for the peace talk. That will be the solution for this difficult third round of war. We are discussing on various issues. Of course, we explain, a government which has got huge responsibility in terms of protecting civilians, protecting the integrity and sovereignty of the country. This is an attempt, an open declared attempt of dismantling Ethiopia in terms of its
Ambassador, sorry, one last quick question. You say you have no preconditions. Would you want to see the complete dissolution, dismantling, surrender of the Tplf?
That would be, part of the peace talk. It's not, to.
So that is a condition then that you would have. You don't have that condition, or you would want that condition?
We don't have any condition for peace talk. We have open arms.
Okay.
Just we have to sit down.
Ambassador, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I know it's a complex conversation. There's so much to go through, and I really appreciate you joining us today. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you.